reports that 10 whistleblowers have come forward to complain that agents working with congressional Democrats are dismissing allegations against the Bidens as, quote, disinformation without even investigating the allegations. Has this led the former Attorney General Bill Barr to change direction and now say that a special prosecutor should take over the Hunter Biden investigation?
Well, we absolutely should have an unbiased body of people looking into this. The question is that even possible these days? And I find it interesting that you've got the left who now is defending the FBI, and it's the same left who has been defunding the police and has been anti-law enforcement for all these years. But if law enforcement is being weaponized against their political enemies, somehow all of a sudden they're all in favor of it. Yes, and this certainly doesn't filter down to all the FBI agents all the way down the chain, but there certainly is corruption that seems to be abundant at the top.
Doubt. I mean, the current Attorney General, he's the bloke that signed this warrant, and we'll come to that in a minute. He's now being pressured by Democrats to indict Donald Trump over his actions before and during January 6th. Now, it appears as though that's going nowhere. Does Garland now find himself facing growing allegations that the president who appointed him is part of a corrupt scheme, and even worse, the alleged scheme involves America's most dangerous geopolitical adversary?
Well, this is not only Biden's former opponent, it could be Biden's future opponent as well. And really, Alan, all this is about is one word: distraction. The Biden administration doesn't want us talking about the things the American people care about, which is crime, an open border, inflation, rising prices of gas, food, energy, everything. And they certainly don't want anybody talking about the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which both sides of the political aisle are now agreeing is probably an Inflation Expansion Act. They're spending tens, if not hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars on things the American people don't want. No. And while they're doing this, while they're pursuing people like Donald Trump, they're not pursuing criminals and terrorists, and America is less safe because of it.
Well, coming now, though, to the raid. Now, the same Garland, Attorney General Merrick Garland, who's dragging his feet for 4 years over Hunter Biden, is saying he authorised the raid. Now, is this just coincidence, or does it further put into reverse the 4-year investigation of Hunter Biden without a single indictment being filed? I mean, congressional Democrats are calling for the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, to conduct a damage assessment on the boxes of documents, and the Trump haters have managed to get into the media that Trump, quote, faces a criminal investigation for violating the Espionage Act and the obstruction of justice, and this apparently is the substance of the warrant. How much credibility attaches to this, Peggy?
Well, as much as anything coming out of this Biden White House. And, you know, already there's been some interesting developments coming out. The scope of the warrant was very broad. And by the way, this originally was unprecedented that they would invade in a raid, even though the left says, don't call it a raid, it was a search. It was a raid. It was an invasion of this man's privacy into his private home, his private office, and even his wife's closet. I mean, how disgusting is that? But the search warrant that they had was so broad, they really could have gone after anything, and they did. And even today, they have had to start the process of returning attorney-client privilege documents they took, returning executive privilege documents that they took, returning Donald Trump's personal passports that they took, well beyond the scope of the warrant. And so even though they had this broad-reaching warrant, they thought they could get away with taking anything, they're already being accused of overreach, and they're having to return these things. This DOJ, this FBI should be ashamed of themselves.
Absolutely.